Hey everybody, how you doing? And welcome to the show. I am your host, George. We're about to get things going. What a show. Mysterious, maybe dangerous, rare occult books. Andrew Cox of Nexus Occult Books and Oddities is here. Will be joining me shortly. We have a great show. Jessie Czebotar is here. Fasten your seatbelts. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Reveal Report. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show. What an exciting show we have for you. Coming up in just a moment, I'm going to bring on a guest I've never had on the show. We're going to touch on a particular topic we've never done a whole show on. We've touched and elaborated in different shows with other guests, but never an entire show. And like I said, I'm trying to find new content and new guests to come and speak about their experiences and what they do. So I'm excited to have Andrew Cox on the show momentarily. Hold tight. Jeff's going to be joining us. Let's get into it. Last week, what a show. Guys, Dante's Inferno with Gary Wayne. We discussed hell. Does it exist? Is it there? The different levels of hell in different stories. It's an amazing show. Check it out. He'll be back next month, and we'll discuss the different levels of heaven as per different religions, different belief systems. And so we'll get into that because that's a very interesting thing. Some say there's 3 levels. Some say there's 9, 7. Me and Gary will sit down next month. We'll talk about it. Coming up next week, here's another guy I found on Instagram with an amazing collection. Brandon Hodge. We're going to be calling it Speaking to the Dead. He's got, I think, one of the biggest collections of Ouija boards and equipment for divination. I mean, he's got one heck of a collection. Ancient boards. He even has spirit catchers, these wild blanchettes. I mean, what an amazing array of things he's got. It's like a museum, his house. So I can't wait to have him. He'll be joining us next week. I'm excited for that. And guys, we got to talk about this. Very important because there's been some amazing people helping out. I got to start off by doing a shout out to Miss Lisa M, Linda Q, Connie C, Amy H, Josh G, Deborah D, Nicole, Shannon H. These are a bunch of human beings that love this show and want to keep it on YouTube for the first hour every Monday, so we're not exclusive to Patreon. So last week on Venmo, they sent a little something, and it went a long way. It helps cover the work, the effort, the energy, the time. So again, please give them a thank you below. Again, Lisa M, the originator, Linda Q, Connie C, Amy H, Josh G, Deborah D, D. Cole, Shannon H, amazing people for supporting, sending something. It goes a long way. I want to thank them because without them, we wouldn't be able to do the first hour here on YouTube. It means a lot. And if you want to support and keep the show on YouTube, guys, you can by going to Venmo at George Iceman, 10, 20, 30, 100. I'll take it. I'm not going to complain. I love it. It helps. And it goes a long way, guys, for the work. So I appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you all so much. It's amazing. All right, without further ado, let me bring on my co-host, who's an author, Miss Jessie Czebotar. Jessie, how are you?
Hey.
All right, Jesse, we were backstage. We were talking to our guest. Even you got a little excited. Even you got, you were like,
I'm
hey,
excited. This is going to be a dynamic conversation.
I'm pumped. I'm excited. I can't wait. So we're going to bring him on. He's got a great website, and you can find it in the description below. He's got an amazing location, a huge array of occult books, some very rare.
Yeah.
He's got oddities, folks. We've never had someone like this on the show because usually it's like former occultists or people that have been in exorcisms and people that are like ghost hunters. So this is a little bit different, but still in the same realm. So I'm excited to have him. Without further ado, please welcome Mr. Andrew Cox. Andrew, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, Andrew, I'm going to give you the floor. Let's get started. You have this store, you have a collection. Please tell everybody watching right now how you got into this.
Well, awesome. Thank you. So we have been a physical store for 4 years. We do have an online store that's based off of like the eBay platform, but I have been obsessed with the occult since I saw Ghostbusters when I was 4. I wanted to be Peter Venkman, and my parents did not try to discourage me from that. So I have always been a collector. As a kid, I collected baseball cards, stamps, and coins, and slowly but surely started collecting books. And, at first it started out being obsessed with like the paranormal, UFOs, cryptozoology, Bigfoot. There used to be a show on called In Search of with Leonard Nimoy. That show, Unsolved Mysteries, those were huge turning points in my life that just kept the obsession growing. But when I was 9, I saw The Exorcist, and that broke my brain. I saw it when I was 9 by myself at night at my dad's house in Memphis, Tennessee. And my dad told me it was based on a true story. And at 9 years old, I couldn't really comprehend what I was seeing. But as terrifying it was also fascinating. And so that actually threw me into the true occult, the obsession with ceremonial magic and witchcraft and astrology. Demonology is one of my favorite subjects. And I have been collecting books for so long that by the time I got ready to open Nexus, I had just shy of 23,000 books in my collection. I still have 3,000 books in storage. We even have a small pop-up down in Bisbee, Arizona at a hotel called Object Hotel, where we have about 2,000 books down there as well. So in the store right now, we have just over 10,000 books, tons of tarot and oracle decks, tons of different oddities, a bunch of local artwork, crystals, minerals, fossils, you name it. We got it. Incense, candles, all kinds of cool stuff.
All right. Well, you got a lot of stuff there, and we're excited about it because, you're going to talk about it because the key here is books. You got a grid shop. It's a big shop. You said something backstage. If you could share that story. You are having difficulty trying to find a place to do this store and call it Occult or use the name Occult. Landlords had an issue with that. Please try and explain the story to the audience so they're aware.
Absolutely. And I found that to be so bizarre. I'm just like, who cares what the name of my store is? Money's money. Do you want my money or not? So when we were looking for a place to find for a home for Nexus, when I would tell them like, yeah, it's a bookstore. Everybody that we talked to was super excited. And then when they found out what the name was, it immediately stopped the conversation. Wow. And so the reason that we're at the location where we are now is because it was literally the only place within our price point that would take us. And even after we signed the contract to be here, they were insistent that we not have the word occult in any of the signage and the name. They wanted it to be either, Nexus New Age or metaphysical or mystical. And, I had to put my foot down and literally threaten to sue them because it's my legal business name. We are not a New Age or metaphysical store at all. We support those stores like that. I think that's great, but we are an occult bookstore, full stop. And so that's one of the things that we've had to deal with. It's frustrating, but for the most part, though, the community here in Tucson, Arizona, where I'm located, has been amazing in supporting us.
Yeah, there's this. That's your shop right there?
That's it right there. Yep.
There it is. I love the graphics. I love it. I love what you're doing with it. And books are powerful. and they do a lot of things. And I found a really quick clip I want to share with everybody about a woman. She says something really smart about books. I'll just share that before we get into it. Here it is.
What a great book does is it helps you to stand in other people's shoes. It shows you worlds and experiences that are not like your own. A great book tells you the possibilities of life, everything that's gone before, everything that will go after, and it sets something alight in you, which might be your creativity, it might be your memory, it might be the idea that you could do something completely different. So anybody, when they open a book, can transform themselves, and that's why reading matters so much.
I love what you have to say. Reading matters so much in so many ways, in all angles. And books carry knowledge. They're important. They teach, they show, they educate. It's one way to communicate. Without cell phones in 100 years, if something goes down and there's no electricity or satellites or television or radio, transmit, and any of that, books will still exist in some way, shape, or form, and they transcend time. So they're important. But you have very interesting books. I would say books of power for certain individuals who know how to use them. So I'm going to give you the floor to talk a little bit about some of the books. I know we have a little show and tell, so I'll throw it over to you and show us some of the stuff you got.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really great point because, there is some really powerful books here. I mean, some of these books, especially when you get into more of the left-hand path or the baneful magic, it can be like handing someone a weapon. It's like handing them a gun. If they're not careful, they can hurt themselves or other people. And so that's something that I'm very cognizant of it and try to counsel people who come in if they just have seen a movie, they just want to jump right into practice without knowing any of the theory and history behind magic and witchcraft. You can do some damage to yourself and those around you if you're not careful. My second favorite book of all time is the Infernal Dictionary by J. Colin DePlancy. And so this is a special edition. It's a second edition, double volume, and this was originally written in 1862, I believe, and it is a compendium, a reference book of everything that has ever gone bump in the night all around the world. So it has demons and monsters, and this is just like, you can check out the silver gilding on it. I'm such a nerd for this book. This was published by a company called Braxis, which is unfortunately no longer in business. And I'll just show you some of it real quick. So and here you have some of the woodcuts of some of the demons that are in there. This is just an excellent, beautiful book, The Infernal Dictionary, by J. Colin DePlancy. Second best book ever written. My favorite book is The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. Mm-hmm. That is a massive compendium of all occult knowledge without being dogmatic or overly academic. Another really cool book, probably one of our best sellers, this is The Goetia. I'm sure many of your listeners are familiar with that, just based on some of the earlier recordings that I've seen. So this is a hardcover version of it by Aleister Crowley. This is a very rare copy. You can get the paperback for like $27. But this is, let me go through here. This has the magic working with the 72 goetic demons. I'm going to try to pull some of the actual stuff from the inside to give you guys a picture like this. Some of the seals that you need when you're working with goetic demons. So very dangerous. Definitely not for everybody. Definitely not for most people. Aleister Crowley, of course, is a very controversial figure, to say the least. Here's some more of the sigils. You need these sigils when you're working with them for a variety of different reasons, of course. So right there, that's two examples of two incredible books, both in the same vein of the left-hand path and demonology, but two very different. One's theory, the other one's practice. So those are just two really quick examples of some incredible books.
Yeah. And again, rare one, especially the Goetia. In dealing with these things, there is danger to it. And again, we're not supporting everybody or telling people go out and get these magic books. All we're saying is that these books and others exist, and they're out there, and they're rare. And we'll get into different things about, a grimoire and all that stuff. But that's just two right there. Just what's your thoughts on, what he has and initially in regards to these very rare books that teach these magical things?
Well, the interesting thing about some of the ones you brought forward is that they actually have seals on the covers, and, those seals are embedded, and usually practitioners, they know that there's something connected with that seal. They consider it a living book. They know that there's going to be secret knowledge within it and hidden things that, may not be, just face front on the pages as you go through. Those books are books. They're meant to connect. They're meant to give experiences, and they're meant to kind of serve as a veil between the physical and the spiritual worlds. So it's interesting. I had gotten into a conversation once with a practitioner, and they had a book that had two different covers, but it was basically the same book. One was white, the other cover was black. And, I went to grab the black covered one, and they were like, "Oh, you can't grab that one," because that was a left-handed book. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to touch on grimoires. I mean, we've touched on that briefly, and people sometimes are like, grimoires. So let's touch on it really briefly. All right, guys, let's touch on it. Grimoire. A grimoire is often considered a guide for practitioners of witchcraft and magic, sometimes just the novice, containing various rituals and magical knowledge. Definition: a book of magic. One that includes instructions on how to create magical objects, summon spirits, and cast spells, is the basic rendition for a grimoire. There are many types of different grimoires in my studies. Usually, anciently, and Andrew, we'll throw this to you and to Jessie, it was known that when a practitioner of magic, this is a journal, folks, and you're putting down in this journal the ritual that you're doing. Sometimes that same ritual you're going to write down 4 or 5 times. Why? Because you've changed something, whether it be particular ingredients, whether it's the day that you do it on the moon day or the planetary system. There are changes, and things will change. For instance, and I'm not saying this because I'm not, how do I say this? I'm not highlighting this in a way to put light on it. I'm just saying it's fact. So I used to do hoodoo, and there was a particular spell I used to do. And someone told me, why don't you add this particular herb to this spell? And I was like, what's that going to do? And I added that herb to that spell, and it worked. And I manifested with that one tweak. I'm not saying this to glorify it. I'm just saying the grimoire is like a journal. So you'll get what you should or shouldn't do and so forth. That being said, usually, anciently, when you're done, you usually burn your grimoire. It should be destroyed. Something happened down the line, and both of you want to comment, where they kept them, they saved them, then there was value. Kings, queens, royalties, those aristocrats wanted those books and would pay huge money to get them. So I'll let you both comment on that. Jessie, please, you go first.
In my experience, I think it was more of power that was connected to it. Power, long life or eternal life, or even what would be considered more your prophetic or apocalyptic grimoires. Those are ones that I think definitely they were attempting to keep and began, finding ways to preserve the words written within because they wanted to have access to that knowledge. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. So most grimoires, especially the older ones, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they think of like a grimoire or a book of magic, they're picturing this gigantic tome, full of spells and whatnot. And that's just kind of a Hollywood, thing. Most grimoires are actually quite small because they had to be hidden. And most of them were handwritten. and sometimes even handwritten by, different people. And so, yeah, I mean, and most grimoires were actually quite short, like Le Petit Albert that we were talking about, or the Red Dragon, Le Dragon Rouge, one of my favorite grimoires just from reading and enjoying. I mean, those were both tiny books, and then you had the whole phenomenon of the chain books, where these books were physically chained in libraries to keep them from being stolen and taken. But yeah, I mean, so most grimoires are quite small and quite short, honestly.
It's a great segue when you talk about libraries and they would be chained to the library, which takes me to something because, you're doing research, you're reading, you're searching, things come up. Something interesting, something very interesting I came across, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this can't be real, but it's real. And I found something out. It's a video that I found, and I'm going to play it for everybody, and then I'll get both of you to comment about a very rare collection. Turn up the volumes. Take a look at this.
Yale owns one of the largest collection of forbidden magic books on earth, okay? So if you a witch or a warlock or whatever else y'all got going, you know what I'm saying, you might want to take a visit to Yale. Yale has a secret, and it's been locked behind marble walls for 60 years. Inside one of the most prestigious universities in America sits a collection of over 300 medieval and Renaissance manuscripts on the dark arts. The kind of books medieval kings would have killed for, the kind of books the Catholic Church tried to burn, and the kind of books most people don't even know exist, okay? Spells to turn lead into gold, instructions for summoning spirits, recipes for the legendary Philosopher's Stone, original alchemy notes by Sir Isaac Newton, who spent more of his life chasing magic than he did chasing physics. It's called the Mellon Alchemy Collection, and it got there because of one woman. In the 1940s, Mary Mellon, the wife of one of America's wealthiest men, fell down a rabbit hole. After meeting psychiatrist Carl Jung, she became obsessed with alchemy and began quietly buying up some of the rarest occult manuscripts on the earth. When she died at just 41, she ain't died, shawty crossed over to the witch life. Her husband Paul donated her entire collection to Yale.
All right. Comments on that one? What are your thoughts on that collection that she has there? Go ahead, Jessie.
Yeah, I think it's, it's always fascinating to hear kind of the secret or, forbidden books that the universities or libraries have. That's leading us into, my curiosity about things that Andrew may have in his collection.
Andrew, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that Yale library is phenomenal, for lack of a better word. I mean, it's quite the collection, especially their alchemical collection. I mean, I think though one of the best collections of occult knowledge is right under the Vatican, where they have 52 miles of hidden knowledge that doesn't belong to them. It belongs to everybody, and that's quite frustrating because they're hoarding and hiding such amazing knowledge. I mean, the only thing that would compare would be the Library of Alexander, and we all know what happened to that. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, if you ever do have the opportunity to go check that out, absolutely. I mean, you'll never see stuff like that. It's so rare to see stuff like that in person ever. I mean, you've got the parchment, the paper, it's this handmade paper, or it's either like even written on calf skin. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Before I got into the occult, there was a movie that I checked out, and I was like, this movie is very interesting. And it's called The Ninth Gate, released in 1999. Interesting date, 1999. Take away that one, and we have 999, turn it upside down, 666. Just a coincidence, of course, folks. Just a coincidence that the 3 9s upside down are 666. What's the book about? Well, or this movie is about a book broker who finds himself involved in paranormal happenings when he's hired to authenticate the last 3 copies of a text that is said to be capable of summoning Satan. That's right, Satan himself. So interesting stuff. And then the other movie that I found interesting, again, based on a book The Evil Dead. Man, and tell you, every couple of years they have a new version of The Evil Dead popping up. But there's this book that they bring up in the movie, and all hell breaks loose. I'll keep it there. Another movie, while we're out there, is The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It, based on a true story. Of course, I've said it before that Lorraine Ed Warren, they had a lot of files on different happenings. So this series was based on their experiences. And here's a scene from it. There's the practitioner having the book of spells on the right and going through different ancient magic. Now, that definitely is left-hand path type of stuff. Interesting part about that movie specifically, you guys know if you've seen it, is her father was a priest who was studying some deaths, some serial deaths that belonged to some occultists, a Satanist sect. And he got into it and had one of the biggest libraries of books. And he left the church and he got himself involved in all this occult knowledge and started reading. But his daughter, when he wasn't around, would come into his den and start reading the books at a very young age. Started to learn about the occult and the powers that this book had and different books of magic. And things started to happen. That's the moral to that story, which takes me to my next question here, Andrew. What horror stories, or maybe I shouldn't say sorry, but scary things that you've heard that have come across with these books that some people may have owned, that you've got, or that you weren't interested in buying because of things that happened?
No, that's a great question. And side note, with the Warrens, there was a book called The Haunted by Bob Curran that talked about the Smurl haunting.
Yes.
And I think that might have been the last Conjuring movie was made about that. I read that book when I was like 11 or 12, and that just terrified me to death about a demonic infested house with a succubus attack. And so that was just, I absolutely love that book. And you can still get it. You can get it in paperback now. But as far as like cursed books, it does happen. So we recently I did a couple of videos on two books that were by a guy named Mark Allen Smith. And he is I guess you can call him a black magician, ceremonial magician. One book in particular called Queen of Hell. It's now his books are all hand bound and they're all signed, sigilized, and consecrated by the author. They're bound in vellum. This book, Queen of Hell, was a working for the goddess Hecate, which is kind of like the goddess of all witchcraft, basically. It's the easiest way to have it. Now, we have had that book several times, and we have sold 2 copies of it, and both times 2 different people have brought that book back and just given it back, not traded it in, not wanted their money back, just said, here, you take it. Both people did not know each other. They both reported all kinds of paranormal activity happening at their home just from having the book, and they were reading it. They weren't practicing anything out of it. Just having the book in their house was enough to make things happen. And we actually have a sign on our bookcase where we keep all of like the rare stuff that says, do not read these books out loud. And that's a rule here. You don't read the magic books out loud because you could accidentally evoke or invoke something.
I love that you said that, and you made reference to it. Don't read the books out loud. You can invoke something. So you're aware, and you understand that there are sometimes portals that are opened, and that things happen when people mess with things they don't know. Is this the book that you're referring to?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, The Queen of Hell. So 2 different people that purchased this book brought it back. They didn't even read it, you said. They just experienced some wild paranormal things that started to occur in their home.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And that does happen, though. And we've actually even had people bring in, like, haunted objects. And we don't ever buy haunted objects because then you get a flood of everybody. This rock's haunted. This stick's haunted. And, so we don't do that. But we've had people bring us their haunted objects just because they're getting rid of them and they want us to deal with it, us to have it. We've had dolls where I had a woman who she had rosaries wrapped around it, but you could see where they were all kind of broken apart. And she even had wounds on her, she said, that were inflicted by the doll. So that's happened. We've had a haunted clock where the clock face would just open up by itself. It would stop and start all on its own. And that's something, I've witnessed with my own two eyes, or all four of them because I have glasses. But it happens. I mean, so I love that type of stuff. Honestly, I mean, I'm not really scared of that type of stuff. I mean, I wouldn't bring it home myself, but we have it in the shop. I mean, that's just, it comes with the territory.
So I love that you said that. So you won't bring these things into your home. That's your private space. That's for you to go and so forth. You'll keep it in this shop, which I think is the smart thing to do, because you have very rare items, and you obviously are smart enough and educated enough because you've been around and you understand that some of these books were used for ceremonies. Doors are open. They're portals. You know that. Do you have any type of signage or anything besides the one, don't read it out loud, that gives a warning to people to be careful with these things?
No, not other than that, but anytime I'm here and there's someone who is, interested in demonology or working with infernals, basically, I have no problem talking to them and explaining to them what they're getting themselves into. Now, these people are adults, they can do what they want. But I feel it's part of my job as owner of the shop to inform people, what they're getting themselves into. Because like I said, I mean, people can hurt themselves with books. You absolutely can.
Yeah. All right. Here comes my next question. These books. Jessie, we'll begin with you. What is the most dangerous book, not that you've heard of, that you've come across? If you can maybe share a story or talk about your experience. What do you feel is the most dangerous book that you personally have come across?
Yeah. I would probably say, personal grimoires, but you had the Book of the Mothers. That probably was the most dangerous and, connected to evil book that I've ever come across. I think, in my studies of magic, it probably was the Red Dragon, or you had the Sword of Moses, those books.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll throw it to you, Andrew. What's one of the scariest books, whether it be the content or the experiences you've heard about it, that you've ever come across?
Oh, I mean, there's there's a bunch. I mean, there's 6 books by Mark Allen Smith. Those are all incredibly dangerous. They're amazing books, very well written, but they are for the advanced and serious practitioner. You're going to lose your mind when you do it. As far as like classical grimoires, like she was saying, the Red Dragon, yeah, I mean that's a horrific book. I mean, you are making a pact. You are dealing with Lucifuge Raphael, the Prime Minister of Hell, to make that pact. The Key of Solomon, the Goetia, of course. Anytime you're dealing with infernals is very dangerous and should not be taken lightly. But there's the Black Pullet, the Sworn Book of Honorius. Those are all dangerous books, difficult books if you're not careful. Yeah.
I'll share a story. I said it to you guys backstage, so I'll share a quick story. It was Halloween. I was still, dabbling in the occult and ritual magic and so forth. And I was looking for very rare books. I went to a used bookstore on Halloween. And on Halloween, I went to the bookstore and I told the guy, I'm looking for some rare books, something that I could really dig into and maybe try some type of ceremonial magic. Well, what kind of stuff do you got? And he goes, listen, I just got this book. The guy brought it back. He bought it. All hell broke loose in his house. And he got rid of it. He didn't want it. So he brought it here. I have it. I go, this is the book. I got to have this book. Obviously, there's something attached to it. We're getting right into the action. I'm not going to waste much time here. I'm going to take this home. We're getting into it. And it's Halloween. So, we're not going to get into the occult, the timing, the day, the year, the whole thing, but it's a perfect day to get into anything like that. So I was like, this is it. Let's go. So he gets me the book. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, great. I go to pay the book. The most weirdest thing happened. It wouldn't take my debit card. The machine would not process my card. I'm like, what's going on here? I think I went to the bank to figure it out, and I was having issues. My card did not work for like 24 hours. It was a mess. Whatever was going on, that was happening. It was not meant to be. I believe there was a sign. The universe, God himself said, you will not have this book. And Andrew, we're going to go back to you because you said something in the pre-show off air to talk about how you pick the book or the book picks you or doesn't pick you. Whatever it may be, that book was not meant for me. And I did not get that book. Interesting story. Yeah. Andrew, touch on that. Books pick you. You pick the book. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So it kind of something that kind of funny that happens every once in a while here is a book will come flying right off a shelf. No one's pushed it from the other side, and it's fallen and hit that person for a reason, and that's the universe's way of saying, hey, you might need to look at this book for whatever reason. And then again with Queen of Hell, I mean, that person who bought that book, it wasn't for them. It's very dangerous for that reason. And like you were saying with the card, that's happened a few times here too. For whatever reason, this person who's never had an issue with their card, and for whatever reason they can't complete the transaction. So that does happen. I mean, books are real. I mean, a lot of them do have, especially those type of books, can have something attached to them for sure, and for the right person,
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing, and they do exist. So you need to be very, very careful. Segueing over to obviously the picture I shared of your store and so forth, it says Oddities. Wait a minute. Yeah. Oddities. Let's get into that a little bit. Talk to me about the Oddities, your collection, what you got. You have anything to show and tell? Let us know about the Oddities that you carry.
Yeah, so we have a really wide variety. We like to work with as many local artists and creators as we can. So we have a lot of wet specimens is one of the things that we sell a lot of. So those are ethically sourced dead insects, mammals, fish, things like that. We have like a giant rabbit right now that's in a huge vat of alcohol. We also have like squids and different types of fish, or like tarantulas, or different types of mantis and butterflies and moths that are pinned, things like that. So we have a lot of those. We have animal skeletons and skulls from that picture there. Some of that stuff too is like your New Age and metaphysical, your altar supplies, like your mortar and pestle, your incense, your candles, your tarot decks, your rune sets, but a lot of really cool locally made art and jewelry, tons of crystals, minerals, and fossils, which a lot of times you'll need in your practice. Some spirits and deities require certain offerings, and a lot of times there's either crystals or herbs that go along with that practitioners will put on their altar, and we have those things here. We do, like at my house, we actually have about a 4-foot tall, what's called a Nikisi. That's from the Congo. It's like a wooden sculpture of a spirit and has a bunch of like nails sticking into it and offerings put all over it. We actually have one that's over 100 years old. It originally came from a voodoo store down in New Orleans. That store closed. Somehow it got all the way to Tombstone, Arizona. That store closed, and the owner sold it to me, and I have it in the display case at home.
Wait a minute. Now I know about these things. These are very rare, but they exist. And there's a documentary that came out. This guy did a great job. Hired a guy to do a documentary. He had one. He had to get rid of it because he was traveling around. I forget his name. He was traveling around doing a oddity paranormal show, and that was one of the objects. But wild, bad things were happening. He had to get rid of it. I think it came to the point he had to actually pull the nails out and do a cleansing prayer, a burial. It was a lot, because every time a nail is hammered in, it's another sealing.
Activation you're activating the Nikisi. When you drive a nail into its head, that's waking it up, and like it's almost like commanding it. They are symbols of protection, but they can also be offensive as well. So they're defense and offense. So if someone in the village was wronged, they're going to drive the nail into the Nikisi's head, and that's kind of a way of waking it up, and you'll make your offering with it as well, and then it sets out to get whatever retribution is needed.
Wow. Yeah. So now, have you had any negative paranormal things, weird things happen in your house since that's been there?
Actually, no, not at all. And so, I mean, I don't really practice too much at home. I try to keep I scry almost every day. So
Really?
we have we have a tarot room, and we have scrying mirrors. And the crazy thing about our scrying mirrors is that they're made locally by one of my employees, Jake Richardson. He's a multi-generational witch, lifetime practitioner.
Wow.
When the Boleskine house, Aleister Crowley's Boleskine house, it burned down for the second time in 2019. There is a Boleskine house foundation they're rebuilding it, and they auctioned off some of the ashes from the Crowley's Boleskine house, and I purchased them, and we actually used the ashes from that house in our mirrors, and they're intense, man. It is. I have a gigantic, like 3.5 foot tall one here at the store, and it's amazing. But we sell some that are smaller, but they're no joke. I mean, most scrying mirrors are just obsidian or black acrylic. Ours are insanely unique because it's got that Crowley component, and they're no joke. They're very powerful. Yeah.
You know, wow. All I could say is wow. Very rare what you have. If you have the ashes, this is where the most famous or one of the most talked about rituals was ever attempted, which is the Abramelin.
Yeah.
He left. He didn't even finish it.
That's
he
right.
left.
Yeah, didn't finish it.
And you know as well as I do. I mean, the history behind that house. And what was his name from Led Zeppelin? Jimmy Page, yeah. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Page bought it, he took his library, had a library of it in London with some of the books. So you use the actual ash of the house that he lived in, all this occult stuff happened, the rituals happened in a scrying. Now, if you're a practitioner, that would be second generation. Just what's the word I'm looking here? That second generation, it's like an object, a powerful object. Biblically, the Vatican has these types of objects, but you have like a second generation powerful object there. Mm-hmm. Guys, I've told everybody, and you guys can vouch for this. Part of these rituals is trying to find objects that belong to other practitioners, whether it be a bowl, a knife, a book, a glass, something that'll infuse more power. The most elite people in the world look for these objects. And I've talked about rituals done with Freemasons and how they bring objects. The fact that you have a second generation thing like that is wild.
I even have it. I still have the ashes, what's left of them, in a sealed box with a certificate of authenticity from the Boleskine Foundation. And again, some of the ashes. I also ended up later purchasing one of the flagstones from his roof, and then a stone that was kind of used in the foundation of that building as well. So it's definitely for collectors for sure when you can get something, especially for someone as infamous, I guess is probably the best word, as Crowley. And there is a massive difference in using them.
Yeah. And someone was in the chat saying, "Oh, George, you're thrilled." No, I'm not thrilled. I'm in awe. I'm shocked. I'm in awe and shock because, I mean, he'll know anyone who's a practitioner when you're bringing these aspects and the littlest things, including ashes from a house to use in a scrying mirror. I mean, that's 100%. You need to be careful because you're going to access something. Doors will open. You already got that component. And if you're doing some ceremonies, guys, this is dangerous stuff. I'm doing the show to warn people. I'm not glorifying this. I'm just saying you need to be careful when you're dabbling in this stuff, especially if you don't know what you're doing. This is dangerous. So many times I just be careful, guys. That's all I'm going to say. You need to be careful. I'm glad that you're here, Andrew, talking about the store and so forth. And at least you're explaining the dangers of these things.
Absolutely. Yeah. It shouldn't be taken lightly. We have a saying here at Nexus, and that's magic's got to eat. And what that means is that magic itself is an entity. It's an energy. And for those who don't take it seriously, magic will eat you. It'll feed off of you. When you break magic down to its just simplest parts. Magic is energy manipulation. It's vibration. It's an energetic exchange between you and whatever it is you're working with. And so if you don't take it seriously, if you're not respectful of it, it'll eat you. And that's on you. You know, do your
100%.
homework.
All right, we talked about occult books. We talked about oddities, rare books, magic knowledge, information, things like that. But here's a question for you. Do you have old, vintage, rare, hard to find Bibles in your store?
You know, every once in a while we do get them in. I think the oldest I've had was a 1766. But I mean, that's something that sold right away. Bibles themselves, I mean, there's a lot of old Bibles. And I mean, the Bible is obviously the most printed book in existence. And we do get those every once in a while. We get some Freemason Bibles. I have some of those right now. We have some of the big ones and some of the small ones. Yeah, absolutely. The big leather ones, you know, the lodge is called a Lodge Bible. And so that will have some of the Freemasonry stuff in it. But I mean, I have a bunch of those. Those are interesting. But yeah, occasionally we do get an older Bible. And they're amazing. I mean, we actually had a Jerusalem Bible in just a couple of weeks ago. And that was a beautiful 1970s edition that was illustrated by Salvador Dali. And I mean, that thing sold, I think, 10 minutes after I posted it. I did a little video about it, and that was like $140 book, you know, which was a really good deal because they're going for like $250 online. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing about owning this shop after 4 years. You just never know what's going to come through the doors here. And I'm still, after almost 4 years, shocked at what comes through the door. I never thought we'd have a full set of Aleister Crowley's Equinox. That's an 11-volume set. We've had 4 of them come in, you know, and that's just nuts to me. And the hardest part, too, is not keeping everything. So I have to work really hard on not taking things home. But yeah, we post every day on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok of all the new stuff we get in. Because, like I said, we get in stuff literally every day. And so people can always DM us if they're ever interested. We ship, all that type of stuff. But yeah, we get in new stuff literally every day.
Wow. Just curious. Who would purchase these old Bibles or these Freemason type of Bibles? Who are the people? You don't have to say their names, obviously, but who are these people?
That's a great question. And so the answer is collectors. I mean, there's a ton of book collectors out there. Collecting books is really actually a great investment. Books hold their value really well. And for people that are collecting Bibles, they're collecting for different reasons. So some people specifically collect Bibles. But then for like a Freemason, somebody who's collecting Freemason Bibles, that's either someone who's collecting it for more of it because it's a novelty, you know, the Freemasons are a very misunderstood fraternal group. There's pros and cons about them, the same within every group, every religion. That goes without saying. But collectors, man, they love it for the novelty of it, or there is the people like me who are true passionate collectors who just it's almost like a drug. I mean, you can't have enough, and yeah, you'll spend some serious money collecting books, man. It's no joke. It gets out of hand quick.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Jesse, what are your thoughts on all this? These books, these rare Bibles, these Masonic Bibles. Talk to us. Some of these very hard to get.
Yeah, they are hard to get. You get lodges that, you know, they're going to keep it very private. I think how those things tend to get out more is usually estate sales, and people, you know, families don't know what they have. But your higher level Masonic books or Bibles that they've put stuff into, they're, you know, going to make sure the lodge people after a death will go make sure they've gathered and collected all of that material usually. So it's interesting, but I'm curious too, like what would you say is probably like the most sought after book that you've had coming through your store, and like what type of practitioner was the one who was seeking after that?
Good question.
You know, that's a really good question. So there are special editions of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. Those are really sought after. Those can be from just a couple of $100s to a few $1,000s if you're talking like the Diamond Jubilee or an earlier edition. So that's really sought after. But anything that is super weird and baneful, yeah, like the Mark Allen Smith stuff, that or anything Crowley or Kenneth Grant or Austin Osman Spare, that Typhonian magic, that stuff has high collectability, and the people that are looking for that stuff are true practitioners. Now, those aren't the people who just dabble in it, those are people that belong to like the OTO, or they are Thelemites. Those are true. A lot of those are ceremonial magicians who are really after that stuff.
Wow. Again, a lot of information, and so much to take in, guys. I hope you guys appreciate it. This is a new type of conversation. Again, we're not promoting magic rituals and that. We're just talking about, getting the perspective of an individual who collects these books and find out who purchases them, how they have to watch over them. Some people don't dabble in them as hard as maybe, let's say, what I did, where I got it to a point where my whole life was turned upside down and it just nothing. I found it in magic, just my experience. I'm speaking on my behalf and nobody else, that, for every step forward I got of manifestation, I had to take 2 steps back. I mean, it was just some wild, crazy experiences to the point where I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. And that was for me, just my experience. Yeah. So
you brought an interesting point there. I'm curious, are there special things that you have to do, Andrew, to watch over? Talk about being a keeper of these books.
Yes.
It's a very challenging, dangerous, like what are some of the complications with that for you?
No, that's a great question, because there's been several times where people who have come in that have been, long-time practitioners and good customers who have bought quite a few books from us, especially even the heavier stuff. And then one day they have come in and they are just getting rid of all of it. It's like an Icarus moment. They got a little too close to the sun.
Yeah.
And they scared the hell out of themselves. And it was too much. They lost it. They had to walk away from it. And it happens. It does. And so when you get someone's collection, especially when it's something a little bit more baneful, what we do here at the store, I won't go into it all, complete details, but yeah, we have a way of clearing out the energy, basically, and kind of wiping the slate clean to the best of our ability. So we do take precautions, absolutely, yeah, and we do energetically clean the store. It does happen, but I mean, just was it last week? One of our tarot readers just came out of our tarot room. He's like, I'm just letting you know, the candle on the wall literally just flew off. And then I think it was like maybe half hour later, a book kind of flew off the shelf. So it happens. I'm personally not bothered by it. But it does happen. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wild stuff. Andrew, I gotta tell you, man, I got no words for because it takes a lot what you're doing. I mean, I was a practitioner. I'm glad that you mentioned that some people come in and get rid of their whole collection.
Oh, yeah.
Me, whatever I had, I'll be honest. For me, I didn't bring it to anyone. I got rid of it. I put it a seal. I locked everything up. I mean, candles, everything. I sealed it up. I said a prayer. I put it in the garbage. Get rid of it. Get it out of here. I didn't even think about. I don't want to pass it to anybody else because of my experience. It's just me personally, of course. But you got to be careful what you get into. I said it once. I'll say it again. Books have power. They change lives. They could change yours if you got to know what you're getting into, and be careful out there. Would love to. Stay in touch with you and bring you back periodically to talk about some experiences and maybe, some collector books and editions. Bibles could be something interesting to do it. So, and
I'll send you some pictures of the Crowley stuff that I have too, just so you can see it. Absolutely.
Yes, please. Yeah. I'd love that. Yeah. Amazing. That's all I got to say. All right. Talk to us. How can people, tell us a little bit about how people could find you and they could buy online and if they're interested, whatever the case may be.
So we're located at 4865 East Speedway Boulevard in Tucson, Arizona. Our website right there, nexusoccult.com. We're open 7 days a week now. And we are on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We post every day of the new stuff we get in. We have a tarot reader here Wednesday through Sunday. And we have an eBay store, which you can get to through our website as well.
There you go. I appreciate that. Jesse, I want to thank you for being here today. We are going to be doing a Q&A right after this. And of course, Alex, Andrew, sorry, I apologize. You are welcome to join us if you'd like, but we're doing a after show Q&A about occult books and stuff like that on Patreon. The link's in the description. You're welcome to join. So Jesse, how can people follow and support what you do?
Yeah, you can follow and support me on patreon.com as well as on my website, kingdomlivingwithjessie.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And guys, for me, again, I'm just so grateful and blessed. I appreciate you guys. You can support me on Venmo. Go to Venmo, and the username is George Iceman, and that'll go a long way. 5, 10, 20, 30, 40. Anything goes a long way. And guys, big thank you going out to 2 new people, Crystalline B, and Jenny N. Just sent a little something my way. Thank you so much. And again, got to do a shout out to Lisa M, Linda Q, Connie C, Amy H, Josh G, Deborah D, T. Cole, Shanna H. Amazing people. Thank you so much for all your support. Guys, I want to thank you all for being here. Andrew, we will have you back again. I just got to hear what kind of crazy things are happening in your store.
Awesome.
I will say, though, with no disrespect to you or anything, I cannot endorse going out and buying occult books.
That's okay.
It's crazy. Maybe I or Jesse or somebody else may have one or get one to read to give you people the information. That's something we might do, not to practice it, but we might read through it and understand it to give you the information to watch out for. So that's something we might do, but just please, a warning, be careful, watch what you do. Very, very important.
I have been doing that, George, already. I've been doing stuff on the Initiative of the Flame and some of Manly P. Hall's books.
Yeah. It's an amazing book, absolutely.
The symbols, the Kabbalistic.
I was just at Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles the last few days, actually, and it's 30,000 books. He's got a 2-story library, and it is beyond amazing. I mean, I love going there. They're such amazing people. My partner was doing an entire art exhibit there for the next 2 months, and it was a blast. Yeah. We
should maybe we could do a special decode on some of like your Queen of Hell book. We could decode the symbols on that and get into some of the different things with that. That might be interesting.
Well, guys, Andrew, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're a gentleman. You're a class act. You came on, you gave us your time, your energy. You talked about everything. I love it. I hope you succeed. I hope that, people who are not witches or warlocks or all that, just people who want to understand the knowledge and maybe, share the information, what to watch out, what to be careful, will come and talk to you and maybe buy a book, an old Bible or so forth, support your business. I'd love to have you back. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much.
Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the after show coming up next. Have a great week. God bless and good night.